Hi guys, how are you doing today? This is Sarah from Trinidad. Let me try not to get the glare in the video. Oh my gosh, I'm in my car. Okay, I think that's a better view. Hi guys, how are you doing? Who's on here with me today? Do I have any giant slayers on here with me today on this scope? If I have some giant slayers, let me see the hearts. Let me see the hearts already. Today we're gonna talk about becoming giant slayers, and I had ministered to my church yesterday on this same topic, and I felt like it would be a very beneficial scope, so I decided to jump on Periscope and to share it with my global family in terms of how we as Christians can become giant slayers. And this message comes out of the Bible, and it is coming from 1 Samuel, and it's coming from chapter 17, the entire chapter of 17. And it's a very popular story, especially in the Christian world, which talks about the story of David and Goliath. And we have heard this story preached so many times. We have read it like a famous Bible story, and we've always talked about Goliath being a giant and having David fight Goliath. Hi Dan, thanks for joining me. And I'm gonna talk to you all today about being giant slayers. Yes, I'm back. It's been like forever, but I'm finally on here to tell you guys about being a giant slayer. And when this giant had all of the Israelites were afraid of Goliath. And they were all in a frenzy, and they were wondering, how are we going to face this giant? Who is going to conquer this giant? And even Saul, who was the king at this time, he too was very afraid of this giant. And the whole purpose of a giant in our lives is to make us servant to it. The whole war is over servanthood. If we look in our Bibles and we read this story, we would see that Goliath threw out a challenge, and he was like, if I win, you would serve me. If you win, I would serve you. So the battle is always over servanthood. Even to today, yes, they are made to be killed, Dan. Even to today, the battle is over servanthood. It's either we would serve God or we would serve the devil. And this is why we have challenges in our life, because it's over our servanthood, over who we will bow to. And Goliath was full of pride, and he wanted all the Israelites to bow to him and to be afraid of him. And you know what? They were fearful. But David came down to the kingdom, and he was like, what's happening here? And they started to tell David the story about they needed a man to go face Goliath. And David was like, okay, well, I'll go. And everyone watched, and even Saul said, David, you are but a youth. David was a little child in the eyes of Saul. And he was like, you are youth. How can you face this giant? But you know what stood out to me in this story? David had confidence in God. David knew the power within him was greater than the giant ahead of him. So David said, you know what? I will go out. I will face this Goliath. And Saul said, okay, you could take my armor. And David tried on Saul's armor. But this armor was not made, it was not crafted for David. So it was too big for him. And David said, no, I will go out on my own. And all he had was his 5 stones and his sling. And when Saul said, but David, how could you go to face this giant with no armor? And Goliath was clad in all his armor of brass and his spear and his shield. And David said unto Saul, I fought the lion and I fought a bear. When it came into the wilderness to attack the sheep, he was the one who was the keeper of the sheep in the wilderness. And let me tell you, you may be going through a wilderness experience in your life today. And I want to tell you, don't despise that wilderness, because you would learn things in the midst of that wilderness that would help you for your future victories. Let me tell you, you got to rehearse all your victories. Rehearse the things God has brought you through. Because by rehearsing your former victories, it prepares you for your victories to come. And David began to say, I fought a lion and I fought a bear. And he began to rehearse this victory, knowing that God was with him in the wilderness and he helped him out of that trouble. So you know what? We're going to look in the Bible, and it says in, let me give you the exact chapter. It's 1 Samuel 17 and verse 43, where Goliath says, am I a dog that you come to fight me with sticks and stones? And you know what I want to tell you today? Your giant has an ear. So be careful what you speak, because your giant is listening. You may be battling a giant of sickness. You may be battling a giant of fear. You may be even battling a giant of moneylessness. Whatever giant you are battling today, I want to encourage you and let you know that your giant has an ear. Look at the words that Goliath uses. He says, am I a dog? Because this giant heard that David in the wilderness, he fought a lion and he fought a bear. So you know what? The giant heard and recognize the power that was in David. So you know what David could say? I fought a lion, I fought a bear, and I killed a dog. My God, somebody needs to shout up in here. Your giant has an ear, and your giant is hearing what you are saying. Say it, hey Lady J, how are you? Your giant is hearing the things that you are speaking. Imagine Goliath said, am I a dog? And David was saying to Saul, you know what? I got my practice in the wilderness. I fought a lion and I fought a bear. And the giant himself, he began to decree that he was a dog. So David got power over that dog. And God was able to move in David. So if you're about to slay a giant in your life, let me tell you the tips to becoming a giant slayer. Number 1. You have to know who God is. When David went up to Goliath, he said, I come in the name of the Lord of hosts. Do you know that the Lord of hosts is Jehovah Sabaoth? So what David immediately did was he called God in his office as a warrior, as a fighter, as the Lord of hosts. He called God in his office of the army of the Lord. So what he said is, I call, yes, his weapons increased, Dan. And he said, I call and I come in the name of the Lord, Jehovah Sabaoth. He didn't come with mighty armor, and he didn't come with a spear, but he came with something mightier than this giant Goliath. So if you want to become a giant slayer, the first thing you must do is recognize God in his office and his position. If you are fighting today a financial giant in your life, you need to recognize God in the office of Jehovah Jireh. And when you are about to face that giant, you say, I come in the name of Jehovah Jireh, who is the Lord who provides for me. Somebody needs to get this message today, because you are fighting a giant, and I'm about to equip you with the tools to fight and to face this giant. Firstly, you recognize who God is. Secondly, you got to be battle ready. David came down. He didn't come for the battle, but when he came to the battle, he was ready for the battle. You are about to face a giant in your life. You always have to be battle ready, and you can't wear the armor of another man. Saul tried to give David his armor, and he said, you know what? You can wear my armor. But don't you know that Saul himself was afraid of this giant? And David had such confidence in God that he knew the Lord of hosts was backing him. So you always got to be battle ready. You have to have your weapons in check. Many of us had put down our weapons, but the Bible says the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty in God to pulling down the strongholds. Somebody needs to dust out your weapon from the closet. Dust out your weapon so that you can face that giant in your life and become a giant slayer. So number 2, you got to be battle ready. Number 3, you have to have a strategy. Strategy is everything. And David had a strategy because he developed it in the wilderness when he fought the lion and the bear. So David continued to rehearse his victories. I fought the lion. I fought the bear. I fought the lion. I fought the bear. Which means that Goliath is no match for me. I fought the lion. I fought the bear. And I'm about to kill this dog. Because the giant himself, he began to say, am I a dog? Because he heard in the spirit realm. Somebody needs to confront a giant in their life today. My God, I feel this word so much in my spirit. You need to confront that giant and let that giant know who your Lord is. You need to be battle ready, and you need to pick up your weapons and get your strategy. You need to recall your former victories. Recall the times when God has brought you out of situations. Recall the times when you were hurt, you were depressed, you were at the lowest place in your life, and my God had brought brought you out of that situation. Recall that time and begin to rehearse it. Because when your giant hears you rehearsing these victories, that giant knows that you will build confidence in God. And once you have confidence and faith in God, you can execute His purpose and His will for your life. We are called to be giant slayers. The term weak and Christian do not go together, because Christian in itself means a follower of Christ. Christ is all powerful. He is almighty. He is all strong. It's time for us to stop being weak and to slay these giants in our lives. And David was able to swing the sling, and the power was not in the sling, the power was not in the stone, but the power was in Almighty God. And as David began to swing, he said, I fought the lion, I fought the bear, I will kill you, giant. I fought the lion, I fought the bear, I will kill you, giant. I fought the lion, I fought the bear, I will kill you, giant. And as he swung his sling, that stone went into the forehead of Goliath. Let me tell you, when you do things in the strategy of God, you execute with such precision that you will not miss your target. I am about to tell you, as a believer, you are a giant slayer. All you need to do is recognize God in His office in your life. So whatever giant you are facing, you need to call upon the name of God. You need to rehearse your former victories. You need to be battle ready, and you need to execute with precision. And my God, the Lord of hosts, will be with you, and He will cause you to slay the giants. And David was able to take even the sword of Goliath and cut off his head. My God is saying, you are about to cut off the head of some giant in your life, some giant that has come and to be ruler over you and wants you to serve it and wants you to bow to it. Goliath was known as a champion, and all the Israelites were afraid of him. But you are a champion, because the champion of all champions live within you. So get your strategies, get your weapons, and execute it with precision, that you would be able to cut off the head of that giant. Lord, I pray for each person on this scope right now, and I declare that they are a giant slayer. I declare that they would pick up their weapons, and that they would slay every giant that they face. I come against the giants of depression. I come against the giants of worry. I come against the giants of fear. I come against the giants of moneylessness. I come against the giants of even heaviness and worry. And I speak to you today, saying that you are a giant slayer. Call on the Lord, Jehovah Sabaoth, the Lord of hosts, Jehovah Jireh, your divine provider, Jehovah Nissi. The banner over you is His love. Jehovah Shalom, He shall grant you great peace. Jehovah Rapha, He shall grant you healing. And you will cut off the head of that giant, and He will give it to you on a silver platter, so that you could say, only the Lord has done this. Only the Lord will get victory in this. My brothers and sisters, you are giant slayers, and we are all here to cut off the head of the enemy. Be blessed. I love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.